And welcome guys to my first little, well, we're going to call it a video log for the channel. Now it's a different format. This isn't really a tutorial, but more of like a state of the channel or progress, or I don't know, call it what you will. But in this video we're going to discuss, well, I'm going to talk about what goes on and why you should just have little exercises for yourself, and just like more, how can I put this, test out your skills when you go to develop games and other things, and why it's important to go and just fiddle with. That's the best way you learn. And you can't do that if you're just all the time looking for someone else to do your job for you. And what do I mean by that? It's quite simple. Is most of the time you probably want something awesome like this. Okay, and we will position this a little better. You want something like this, a real gun. It looks somewhat decent, and you want to shoot stuff, right? Well, it's fine and dandy. I mean, this is kind of more of a setup that you're going to be seeing in the later future. You got your gun, you got your scopes, and different things that you want, but there's a cost to getting this far, and you're going to have to put in the work. Everybody wants to just shoot some stuff, blow some ragdoll up in the air and just watch how it goes, but you're just going to have to put a lot of time in it. So a lot of your days is going to look like something like, let's see if I can find a nice little photo, for example, something like this. And what do I... So you're probably thinking, well, what's this? What's it? This is what it looks like to sit here and animate a gun. This is a Blender program. You're probably going to have some food, like so, right? And you're going to be like, well, why are you saying... Because this is what you should expect. This is what a lot of your time is going to be. It's going to be a lot of animating. It's going to be a lot of texturing. And I don't want to lie to you and say that it's going to be any different, because I find that I'm a stand-up person. I try to be, and I just try to give you the truth, whether it be good or bad, or some might say offensive, whatever. Okay? And you're going to be like, well, this is really boring. And it is. It's boring. It's tedious and time consuming. You're going to have a lot of times where you're going to be doing something like this. And you're like, oh, it's not all the time. Yeah, well, unless you've been animating for 6 months or something like that, or some crazy amount, it's going to take you probably a good while to get a good looking animation if you're doing it by hand. Okay, so get used to seeing something like this. Okay, and it's not bad. I mean, once you get the hang of it and really get into what you're doing, it's not going to be like too bad. Spend a little 15. And what I would express is to, if you're going to do something like this when it comes to animating, try 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes here and there. And then you're like, well, your next question is probably going to be, why? Why should I spend 20 minutes here and there and everything? Because it's freaking bleedy boring. Okay? So you find something cool to do other than sit there and, basically be bored to death by trying to animate something. And you're going to get frustrated and you're going to want to quit and you're going to try to find somebody to do it. But guess what? If you try to pay somebody who does that for a living, it's going to be a nice pot of cash. Okay? People that animate want money because it takes them a long time to make something really good. Okay? So what do you do in the meantime? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can always find a game to play, like so. And you're like, what's this? Well, I'm sorry, this is World of Warcraft. This is the day that I got a rare mount from, I believe, Stonecore, or it was the Deep Throne mount. That's super rare. I mean, you hardly ever see him flying around. He's actually a rare spawn in Deep Home, I want to say. Well, whatever language you or whatnot you want to call. It's the level 82 zone. You get there at like level 82 or 83, something like that. It's an entire zone that's nothing but a bunch of rocks, and it's actually really nice. I like it. It's really nice. Now, currently it is in Legion. So, yeah. It was one of the games that I used for just, getting away from developing games for X amount of time, to keep it a lot more interesting, give my day some little bit of flavor, something that you enjoy. So then we get back to our development tasks. Okay? And it's nice and everything, fix the window. Tower defense. This is the game that I made that is tower defense-y. Okay, and I would place turrets, guys would come by, and everything else. And that was the thing. Most of it was for Android or whatnot. And it was fun to work with and things, but it's severely limited because it's not like a shooter game where you have all different mechanics. You don't have a whole lot of mechanics in a tower defense game. And people are always asking me about it. They are just wanting to know, hey, when am I going to pick it up and everything. All the basic mechanics are pretty much already there in the videos. I mean, it's not much I could do besides the UI part and stuff. And the problem with the UI is all the different buttons that you're going to need. I don't feel that I like the component-based UI that Unity has right now. I mean, granted, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. It's more of a visual type and things. But the problem with it is every single time you make a panel or a button or something like that, it's another draw call. And I don't know about you, but if you have like an inventory system or something of that nature, you can have a lot of draw calls really, really quickly just in one weapon. And I don't feel that it's in a state that I actually really like. And the actual what a lot of people have said, that you should just use a 2D toolkit, their type UI stuff. It's actually really a lot more refined than Unity's UI system. as in visual and all that stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I looked into it a lot and everything, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it. It's got some nice functionality and things like that in it. And I've also done NGUI, NGUI. I've done some of their stuff too, and it's not bad. It's really not that bad at all. I mean, they use a lot of send message and things like that, but it works, and you can animate it and everything, and it's script based, and that's kind of something that I like as well. So for the next little fun thing you could do, and the best thing about when it comes to developing and things like that is I use, well, when my main system was up and everything, is I would use one computer for development and then the other for just gaming. So I would find awesome things like this. I'd get with my friends, and sometimes we would camp for a rare spawn. If you play World of Warcraft, you would know that this is the Lost Time Proto Drake. It's pretty rare, and a lot of people actually still don't have it because it's that rare. And a lot of people have sunk like months worth of time into it. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for all the time, and they actually called it the Lost Time Proto because you actually lose a lot of time just sitting there camping for it. That's fine. I mean, that's what a rare is supposed to be. That's what they say. That's what my opinion of a rare is. Something that's very hard to get. So let's get back to development. If this was me, I would have this thing on a random timer once a week, one time a day. Have it compare time, like maybe every 12 hours, and have it only be alive for like 15 seconds or so, and then have it disappear in a random position of what, maybe like 20 or so. And that would make it very hard for somebody to actually find it. 15 seconds in X amount of positions, yeah. If they're pretty far away, yeah, good luck to you. And this is a game that runs all the time, so you actually have to be on the game all the time. Which, I mean, that's pretty time consuming. Which brings me to our next little step. Is when you develop a game, you have to have something that brings the person back. Some type of rare thing that they want, a quest item, or something that makes the player feel good, like they have to work towards something, or an extra objective that gives a really cool item. It's the incentive of playing the game. Without that incentive, you cannot keep the person there to play another game. Or, I mean, you want somebody to sink a lot of time and a lot of play time and everything. So, yeah, you need to hook them into that and really make them enjoy the game. I mean, yeah, you're going to enjoy it because you're making it. That's the enjoyment. Well, what about the person who's just playing it? You get the enjoyment from developing and making it and be like, oh, this is cool. I found the most enjoyable thing about video games, but this is my thing. Of course you're going to like it because you made it. But the other person, you have to look at it and be like, what are they going to like about it? What's my goal? What's my objective? What is going to be sitting there running in their mind going, hey, I need to really hook these guys in and get them thinking, hey, this is something that they really want to do, like some hard boss. You're sitting there. I mean, this is a good example of it right now. They've worked so hard to try to find this rare right here and sink a whole bunch of time into it, that when they finally get it, they feel extremely good. So naturally, they want to go to try to find something that's rare like this again and again and again and again. And you hook that player in, and they will keep playing your game. And that's the most important part about what is it that your game's got objected to. Is it to be the top tier player in the game? Someone who's got more kills than everyone else in the multiplayer series? Like, take Team Fortress, okay? They actually have a leaderboard for their guild and like all kinds of other stuff. or possibly could be sorry, the who's got the most kills, who's got the most devs, stuff like that. I think there's an API where people can access that type of information freely. But anyway, the whole point of it is, out of all the people in their guild, you want that #1 slot. Kills, damage dealt, things like that. And you're like, man, that would be really sweet to have. So they sit there and they keep trying to get on top, just basically kill everything that they could possibly get. And you're probably like, yeah, that sounds like a pretty hook. That sounds like something I would do. And honestly, it was something that I would do. I want to smash like everyone. Have the most kills, devs. Maybe not the devs, but the most kills, that's certainly so. Or maybe an achievement that if you're the top tier person, like you're in like 1 through 5, and you got 0 deaths that week, maybe you will reward somebody for that. I mean, that would be pretty freaking sick. Could you imagine an achievement? Get 500 kills in a week with 0 deaths. 500 kills. That means you got to get through 500 freaking kills without dying. You know how hard that would be in a shooter game? That'd be hard in World of Warcraft. I mean, well, not really hard in World of Warcraft, but in the PvP spot, oh yeah, that would be, ow, that would hurt. That would be like, I would be the person that would get up to 499 and then die and sit there and cry like a baby. But then I would try it again. Oh yeah, I would try again. But that's the hook, I mean, you actually really want this. Now, this sounds silly and everything else, but this is my player. We were sitting there waiting for this spawn thing to happen. And then another thing was, we was actually wanting to, he's actually a world boss. And we were actually waiting for enough people to come around and, so we can take him down. Because it would take at least 20 people back in the day. This is back in the day. This picture was taken. And yes, my actual name for that game was Wardawn as well. That's my call sign. That's who I am, and in all honesty, I'm proud of that. It's my identity. Something that is a part of me. And as a developer, that's something that I look at as well. What do you have in your game that makes you unique away from everything else? Do you have a player that you customize and make it look the way you want, or is it some general thing where you're just a soldier, you got camo, and that's it? Now, these are important factors into your game. Are you that guy or the other? And in all honesty, World of Warcraft uses this specific technique to hook in players. They actually have a complete system just to mod the way the armors look. Now, it's kind of a prototype stages during when this picture is taken, but they've taken it to a whole nother level as well. And it's hooking people in. People enjoy modding and making characters look the way they want. So it sounds like something that we, as in developers, should put into our game. Customization is king, it seems like. I'm not gonna lie. The games that customize stuff are very, very replayable. Okay, so replayable is a good thing. It just is. Achievements are good things. Things that people can actually work for. And it brings satisfaction. So if I had to sink like 20 hours just in customizing my guns and, well, making a script to customize my weapons and things of that nature, then really, is that a bad thing to sink development time into? Or is it something that we should do right off the bat? That's the question I believe we should be asking ourselves. Is this something that we should sink into? Or is our basic mechanics something that we need to work on? You know, and it's just one of those things that we have to ask ourselves. And on another thing is, you know, hey, it's another game that I play to distract myself from maybe some headache problem in the game that I cannot figure out why this bug's going on. And I just have to just go away from it. So I go back to stuff like this. Like the weapon that I have personally for my game. It's another weapon. It's a P90 or something like that. I don't know. It's some type of machine gun, but it's really cool. I like the way it looks, so I'm putting it in my game. And I got a squeaky chair, and I'm sorry. So we have, let's say, our P90 here. The only thing that I could really do with this gun is, you know, you really can't put a scope on it. Kind of stinks for that reason. You could put a silencer, and then you could put camouflage. So the basic mechanics of it is pretty standard. I mean, it's pretty small, so it's not going to be that bad. But if you think about it, what could we do with this weapon that would be great? Well, maybe we got poisonous rounds. Let's think about this poisonous rounds thing. The basic mechanics of it. Is this a mechanic where we use our rigid body bullets, or is it something that we use maybe an explosive round? Maybe you have bullets inside of it that explode, you know, or maybe they go through people, you know, or through metal. That could be cool, right? I can live with that. I could. And because we're using more of a pluggable API that we're building for our scripts, it's very easy to go, if it's not metal or this or that, then it will go through them. And that I plan on putting in a video and showing you guys, hey, this is how you can do this. Or maybe you want to make it where you can't shoot your own teammates. And that's a fine mechanic as well. So our next topic is going to be, what does our other guns do? And like I said, this is probably going to be a screen that you're going to familiarize yourself with because it's Blender and you need modeling and stuff like that. And you're like, well, there's other modeling programs out there, but hey, guess what? They're not free. Okay? You might get them for free. You might get a hack version or whatever. I don't condone all that stuff because, A, you know, I'm not telling you to do something that's not legal, first of all. Secondly, you know, when it comes down to it, they're going to ask you who made the game, what you used to make the game, and all kinds of other stuff, and then people can dig into your past. That's bad. So that's why I say just use Blender or something, or you know, if you got the money to shell out for Maya or some awesome program, go for it. That's what I suggested you do. Now, the next topic that I will talk about is texturing. In order to texture these weapons, you're going to have probably quite a few things. You're probably going to want normal maps. That's fine. Blender is not that great when it comes to normal maps. Okay? It's kind of terrible. It looks right, but it doesn't act right. Okay? So that's why I use a program called Xnormal. You can probably just Google it and find it. But Xnormal runs really, really well for normal maps. Things. Then we come down to the whole texturing and things of that nature. Texturing is nice and fun, but if you want my recommendation for texturing, look into a program called Substance Painter. It's actually a 3D modeling painting program. It's specially designed for high-end texturing. And I'm not talking like really good stuff. I'm talking like Black Ops texture technique. I'm not surprised if Black Ops actually uses the commercial version of Substance Painter for their entire workflow for texturing their models, because those models are sick and really awesomely good looking. I'm not gonna lie, they're really good. But I highly suspect that it's not what they use. They actually probably use just Maya and straight up texturing. But that's an entire different subject. You know, which I would like to get to and do. And that's fine. So what are we going to probably be doing on this channel? Well, this channel is mostly for learning purposes so that you can develop and go into more of a customized system for yourself. It's basically teaching you how to do certain things, how to write some code for this, how we can use this method to work in various other games that you might develop in. It's not meant to be a kit or anything else. It's meant to be a structure that you can take elsewhere. And that's the reason why I've done my recent tutorials using inheritance and overriding methods, is because I want to give you guys tools to just basically write whatever you want into a system and not have it so freaking bound into everything else. Like, I don't want scripts that care about any other script besides itself. And if we inherit from base class, then whatever class we're pulling around with, we should take the base class with it. It's inheritance. And I don't tie them into like 7 or 8 scripts or some crazy number. I'm like 2 or 3. So let's talk about that. Let's take a discussion about it. Is you take your base class and then I just basically overwrite it. That's 2 scripts, okay? 2 little scripts. One doesn't really do anything whatsoever. It just has the base method. Okay, and then we take that base and we have 5 different things that inherit from it. The base class is pretty much blank. It just has the basic function call inside of it. It doesn't care. And then the scripts that's written that inherit from that base class is where your meat is, your bulkiness, whatever you want to call it. That's where your logic goes. Now, because we write it that way, we can always use the base class to call certain things. So we can go into another script, go get component, and then call the base class version of whatever. And because we're calling, we can get the component of the base, all the scripts that inherit from it, we'll call their function. So basically, you call fire from the base class when you just go get component and it grabs the thing and it has fire. But you have the inherited class. When you get component on the one that you're the class that you made that inherits from your base, it will call that script's version of fire. Okay, so it doesn't care that you wrote it up as 308 or 310 or a Gatling gun. It just cares that it has a fire function. And if you inherit from the base class, you call that fire, it will call it whatever you want. You can have 10 different scripts that inherit from that base class. You can do get component and get an array of them, and then just have every single script call their fire function. And you don't have to sit there and get type or nothing. You can just get component, call the base class. The base class has the fire functionality in it. So every single script that's in there that, you know, inherits from the base class, you can call fire from it. And that's what's really sweet. It doesn't care about the logic that's inside of it. So you get a very flexible system. And like we do in our kit right now, we have all our logic for firing and things like that. We have that all in an event system, and we just tell a controller to just pass that information in. So when we look at that controller, hey, guess what? It's just every single time we spawn a weapon in or we want to select our weapon, it calls get component and we call the base version of our slot, let's say. And if we want to fire, we just call the base version of fire. And the reason why I went this way is because when we get into our NPCs and things, it will cause us to, we'll have the ability to tell our NPCs to go, hey, you have this weapon right here, get component, or just drag the component in, and whatever logic that we write for our NPCs, when we go to look at our gun, we just have that variable and pass fire. Okay, and the script that we have for our player will also work for an NPC or a tank or anything else. It doesn't care what our weapon script is attached to, as long as it says fire and it's got an update, it will sit there and shoot. Doesn't matter. So we've written a script that's very pluggable. We can just go and tell it to do something. It doesn't care. If we really wanted to, we can make a player. Well, let's say we wanted to make some mind control stuff where we tell I guess my light bulb inside of my room is going to die. Yeah, that's just awesome. But what we do in that case is we got mind control. We want that guy to go, hey, I want you to hit yourself. Well, because we, made a very pluggable system, we can go in there and go, hey, set the bull to I hit myself. And you'll sit there and see the NPC hit themselves. And that's kind of cool, right? I mean, who wouldn't like to do something like that? Or, I mean, that would be great. I mean, I wouldn't care about that one. In our weapon system, we also use tagging, okay? So we've got a tag for a player or, whatever it is. I actually put the raycast hits into an array, and that array just wants to detect if it's not this transform, like this. So it'll work for both player and NPC, or a tank, or anything. Doesn't matter. And that's why I went in that direction. So I think we're pretty much done. I think I hit every subject that I wanted to hit in this video, like vlog thing. It's the first one. I don't know how many people will be interested in it, or vice versa, but there's the dislike button or the like button or the comments. So yeah, that's basically the direction that I am going, plus the actual some tips, because development of certain things is pretty boring, so you might need some way to adjust, so you don't give up, because it is frustrating. I'm not gonna lie, it's frustrating. You get mad, something's not working. Yeah, it's gonna happen. So take care, guys, and hit subscribe, dislike if you like. But let me know what you guys think and stuff like that. Your comments are always welcome. As same as criticism. It's good for the soul, good for the heart. But take care and take her easy.